Good morning, everybody. There have been several declarations in history that have recognized Jewish national rights. The Cyrus Declaration that we learn of in the story of Ezra and Nehemiah, who then invite the Jews back to our ancestral homeland, is then echoed years later by, of course, the Napoleon Declaration, which most people do not know of, where he also recognized, and actually it was after visiting Vilna, Lithuania, where he witnessed how many Jews could recite pages of Talmud by heart, where he renames it the Jerusalem of Lithuania, and he says, if this people continues to pray and cry, he had visited on Tisha B'Av, the 9th of Av, he says, if this people is still crying thousands of years later, then inevitably this connection and this bond with this land must still be as vibrant, and they are certainly deserving of a return to their ancestral home. After the Balfour Declaration, which as we know was issued on November 2nd, 1917, it was made public on November 9th, 1917, and then was announced throughout the world within the following week. And so it is very much 100 years ago this week that the Jewish world and the world as a whole were learning of the Balfour Declaration, including President Woodrow Wilson, who was a supporter of, one of the first supporters of the recognition that was issued by the British government. What most don't realize is that actually there was an Ottoman declaration as well on August 12th, 1918, when the Grand Vasily Declaration recognized the religious national rights of the Jewish people and their attachment to Palestine and the land of Israel. It was also within that time period that Emir Faisal, who was basically the main leader in the Arab world at that time, the most recognized leader at that time, who also affirmed that we, the Arabs, welcome the Jews because we share in this legacy. And he actually embraced Zionism as the Jewish nationalist movement. These declarations throughout history, for many, were considered the answer to the Jewish problem. The answer to the Jewish problem most people are familiar with is, of course, the final solution of Adolf Hitler, which, as we know, it didn't begin with the final solution, but by 1945, more than 6 million is the popular number, but according to historical research today, we Holocaust educators know that the more accurate number is about 7.2 million, including the unmarked graves that have been discovered throughout the landscapes of the Ukraine, Belarus, and elsewhere. Numbers aren't what matter, however. We look at the Balfour Declaration and we mark the centenary. There are some who celebrate the centenary. The British government themselves had in the House of Lords, as Baroness Deitch was in presence at the time, debating how we should mark this anniversary of this declaration. Well, in our panel today, I am proud to welcome these 4 distinguished guests, each of whom represents a unique approach, a unique perspective on the relevance of the Balfour Declaration, not only then in the time, 1917, when the Jewish dream truly was only a dream. You know, there's a synagogue in Krakow, if anybody has ever been there, that you look and around the room, there are paintings of all different regions of Israel, the land of Israel. And there you see in the painting of Jerusalem, it is along the seaside, because it was simply in their imagination. And it was simply a part of their soul, but still a dream. Each of the representatives here on our panel will be able to address different aspects of how that dream came to life, not only through the Balfour Declaration, but more importantly, the steps to statehood that were implemented afterwards, allowing the Balfour Declaration to be established in international law.